Um, it is 10:30, so we're gonna just start to kick off here. Thank you all for coming out for today's pitch event. We're really excited to hear from some of the best Opportunity Zone eligible businesses across the state, and to hear the fruits of their hard work with the Colorado Center for Innovation and Community Capital. I'll do a quick rundown of the agenda and some little bit of throat clearing and some updates from OEDIT's Opportunity Zone team, and then we will jump right into the pitches. So hi, my name is Jack Tiba. I'm Opportunity Zone Program Manager, and I work hand in hand with Mike Landis, our OZ Program Director. Say hi, Mike.
Hi, everybody. I'm staying on mute because when folks come in, you're getting that ding-dong sound, and if Jack and I are both off mute, then you'll get it twice, so I'll stay off mute.
Thank you, Mike. So just a quick look at the agenda here. We'll have a brief introduction from myself. You'll hear from our contractors who've been managing the Accelerator program, the Colorado Center for Innovation and Community Capital. From there, we'll get to introduce to each of our judges, and we'll jump right into our pitches. So we have 7 businesses that are part of our OZ Accelerator program that we'll be pitching today. And each of them will have 10 minutes on the stage. They'll have up to 7 minutes to present, and if that's the case, then they'll have 3 minutes of feedback. If they go for 5 minutes, they'll have 5 minutes of feedback from our esteemed judges, who you'll meet in just a moment. So we'll hear 3 pitches, and then we will we'll kind of shift course for a minute, and we'll hear from Josh Freed, the CEO of Proximity, who was among the first businesses to receive an Opportunity Zone investment, and he'll kind of walk through what that process was like. And then we'll hear from our final 4 presenters. Again, about 10 minutes each, and this should probably go until just a little after noon today. So just some quick background on the OZ Accelerator program. This started about last summer, and we at OEDIT started up because we thought that businesses and Opportunity Zones could use a bit of a boost. Recent numbers have shown that only about 4% of all OZ capital is going into operating businesses, and we think that there's a bit more support needed on the business front than on the real estate front, and we see a lot more potential for wealth building at the community level through investments in OZ businesses. So we wanted to give it a boost. We know that both for businesses and for investors, it really helps to have an example and a template to follow. And our real goal with this program is to show both businesses and investors that this is possible, and that you just have to think through how to structure your business, and a little bit of kind of upfront thinking can really make a huge difference in this realm. So that's pretty much the program. It's been really successful so far. We do plan to bring it back for another cohort. Applications for that should open up in the summer. And we will be sure to keep you posted on that front, which brings me to our newsletter. I imagine most of you found out about this event through our newsletter, but if you already signed up, it's a great way to stay in touch with general Opportunity Zone news on regulations, things like that, as well as our next few events. As we announce them, they will go out in the newsletter. So please do sign up for that, and that way you'll definitely know about our next round of the Accelerator program as well. Another resource I want to point you towards is our co-invest website. It's colorado-invest.com, and that is our matchmaking site for OZ investors and businesses, as well as real estate projects. So you'll be able to find a few of our presenters on that site when you click over there, as well as many of our investors who are in the room today are have profiles set up on that site. So please do check that out. We're really proud of Co-Invest. And then lastly, I always want to remind our community leaders in the room that we have 2 grants that are available. One is a mini grant. And all right, somebody muted me.
You're muted again.
Well, I can jump in while you figure this out, Jack, if you like.
Yeah, I'm back, I think.
Okay, good.
Anyway, we do have we have 2 grants available. Check out our website. I'll send some more information about that in our follow-up email, and I'll stop talking so I don't get muted again. I'd like to hand it over to Ron Stites and Jeff Brubaker to quickly give a bit of background on their side of what it's been like managing this program.
Thanks, Jack. This was a good fit for our group. I've been in consulting, technology development and commercialization for many, many years on and off, mostly in alternative fuels, sort of on the scientific engineering, chemical side. One of the things I noticed was that it's very difficult to fund startup operations. I've worked a lot with small businesses along the way. It's been very difficult to raise money to grow your business, even though you have a great idea. So I founded this company in 2019, really focused on trying to raise money for small businesses with good ideas. We had some background in opportunity zones. When this program came along, it was really a perfect fit. What we did is we put together an online sign-up process and a series of surveys to gather information about companies, trying to judge what is their idea, how far along are they, et cetera, and use those data to select the best chances for success. That was something we really put together ourselves, just kind of from scratch with OEDIT's help, and sort of focused not only on business success, but also clearly opportunity zones, but also impact in the community. That was another piece of the criteria that we really wanted to use for the selection process. We had about 85 people apply. We narrowed it down to 12 and then finally to 11. That's the group that we've been working with now for, gosh, it's getting close to a year and a half now. We started off with boot camp type training on the process for raising money, finding investors, talking to investors, communicating investors, talking about the value of your company and your offering. So we did boot camp training for a week and a half on that. Then we did individual training and consulting with the companies for their specific needs. Every company has its strengths and weaknesses. When you're trying to do something new, expand, you always have a missing piece. And so identifying those and shoring those up and getting those ready to go are an important piece. It's important to know that our process really, and I have to thank Elizabeth Gray for this. It's a Socratic process. We ask a lot of questions. What you are going to hear today is not our answers, not our work. It's the work of the people who have the ideas. We would just ask a lot of questions. We give a little bit of help, but this is their story. This is what they intend to do, what their passion is, and all we could do is help them try to communicate it. But really, it's their work, not our work. So for good or bad, what you see is the work of the people, not us. We didn't write all this stuff. This is their real true story. Let's see, what else would I want to say? maybe what's next for CC4ICC. This has actually been a very positive experience. It's been a very good time. I should introduce Jeff Brubaker just momentarily. I actually did some teaching at Colorado Christian University, and I met Jeff, and Jeff was in one of my marketing classes. And so Jeff was crazy enough to join, wise enough to join in on this venture and help out. Jeff has done a lot of the work. So a lot of the marketing and support work in the background. In the future, we're looking to actually create another operation that does a little bit more on the private equity side. And we'll have more information about that later someday, but that's kind of where we're headed. So this has been a great program, a lot of success, a lot more to do. There's a lot to do when it comes to economic development. So that's my spiel, Jack. I hope that was okay.
Excuse me. Thank you, Ron. And yeah, I think you can afford to brag a little, but yes, I agree. There's been a lot of hard work on behalf of our Accelerator participants. So at this point, I'll quickly ask our judges, Thea Chase, Ryan Fraser, and Andrew Pipes, if you could just take a minute or less to quickly introduce yourselves, everyone, and what perspective you're bringing. That'd be great. Thea, if you'd like to start.
Great. Hi, everybody. Thea Chase. I'm actually the CEO and founder of a company but I also work with Creta Projects. That's the international firm that I work with to do most of the work I'm doing these days. I spend most of my time in projects in the Middle East and Asia around building the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So incubators, accelerators, ecosystem building tools, and helping build capacity in those countries in order to encourage the entrepreneurs themselves and to provide opportunities to build what's necessary for a vibrant ecosystem. But I'm out here in Palisade, Colorado, and I'm on the state's Venture Capital Authority Board. I'm on the executive committee for Energize Colorado's GAP Fund. I'm also involved in the Mentor Initiative. I've run accelerators and incubators both in the state as well as out in California, and so happy to be involved today.
Thanks for your word, Ryan.
Hey, you got it. Hey guys, and it's great to be with you. Thanks for inviting me to participate in this. This is pretty exciting to hear from OC businesses. My name's Ryan Fraser. I'm the CEO and managing principal of Fraser Global. It's a management consulting company. We specialize in management consulting, but also ESG advisory work, where we help companies align with SASB standards and GRI standards, as well as a process to do work around return on sustainable investment. Do a number of things in the OZ space, primarily helping to source deals. I work with a lot of private equity, buyout, software, real estate related funds in terms of helping them identify deals, as well as I do private placement work, primarily helping to raise some capital from institutional investors into these funds that are looking for deals here in Colorado and across the country. Have been doing this work for a number of years, and particularly a fan and have an affinity for OZ deals because I believe it brings a great opportunity to drive investment into economically distressed areas. As a guy who grew up with a single mom who raised 3 boys who worked 2 to 3 jobs, I'm adamant about doing everything we can to woo investment into these areas and into businesses that are looking to locate in these areas. In addition to all that, I happen to also host the Business Brief for the NBC 9 News. So I'm also looking on here for maybe some good businesses that we could feature down the road. So thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to learning more about what you all are doing and maybe asking a question or two that stirs some thought.
Thanks, Ryan. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Pipes, and I'm an attorney at Cohen, Payton & Payne out of their Fort Collins office. Our office does a lot of OZ deals. Kind of, somewhat specializing in it around here. And I've been helping Ron and CC4ICC with just presenting some general information about, the pitfalls and do's and don'ts of raising capital kind of what it all means from a business perspective as well as a securities perspective. And I've actually brought along a colleague of mine, Chris Schmidt. He specializes in tax law. He's our tax guy. And so obviously, since OZs are sort of intimately intertwined with tax, I thought he would bring an interesting perspective.
Thank you, Andrew. And without further ado, I'll stop sharing. I'll turn it over to Sam from Campfire Ranch, and we'll get this started. Sam, you are about to be on the clock. Oh, sorry, one last thing. Guests, please, if you have questions, type them into the chat as we go. Our presenters will answer them after they go.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sam Degenhard, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about my dream to make camping easier. It's called Campfire Ranch. If you've been in the outdoors at all these past few years, it should be no surprise that camping is definitely in right now. And it's not just in Colorado. We're seeing this across the country, things from bookings, the number of active households, and the amount of people that want to camp today say they want to camp more tomorrow. But if we look at new campers, we should see something different. New campers are really pioneers. They're quite a bit different than their parents. Millennials now make up 38% of the camping market, and that doesn't even include Gen Z, who's 24 years or and younger. As they join millennials, they're really poised to take over the ranks of camping in the outdoors. Yet this is the view they face. Pretty discouraging. When 67% of millennials camp in tents, these are the views they're faced with. So, okay, what are the other options? Well, you've got public campgrounds. These can be really cool, but the demand is crazy. And if you're lucky enough to get a spot, you find yourself questioning what you're really paying for. A piece of dirt, a picnic table, and a grumpy camp host telling you to be quiet at 9 p.m. And your last option is primitive camping. This can be awesome, but you have to know where to go. You gotta have all the gear and equipment. And for new campers, this might be a little too much of an experience. So that's where Campfire Ranch comes in. Our mission is to be the physical hub for the next generation to gather in the outdoors and build long-lasting friendships along the way. We're building campgrounds for the experienced generation. What does that look like? A national network of locations in top outdoor destinations, featuring RV-free camping around car camping and van lifing, and amenities that make sense and make your life easier, like unlimited free firewood every single night. And we partner with top outdoor brands to offer on-site demo equipment, so you don't have to own all the camping gear to just get out there. And our Adventure Concierge program partners with local outfitters and guides to provide turnkey experiences right in these new destinations, even if you're coming for just a weekend. And both in our footprint and the way we develop, we have a sustainable business model, and we market to our customers with mountain manners to help create stewards of the outdoors as they explore. We focus on 4 major target markets: the urban explorer, the outdoor guru, the nomad, and the destination planner. Together, these 4 make up a total addressable market in the US of $7.1 billion and growing. We're starting our launch in Colorado. It's a prime location and has lots of competition. We believe that we can be successful here. We can grow national in scale. And we're looking for real estate development opportunities to purchase and develop land, as well as public-private partnerships to grow our brand. We're headquartered in the Gunnison Crest Butte Valley. If you've been here, you know how awesome it is. This community is rich for development. We think that as we grow, this will be a perfect hub to headquarter an outdoor industry business like ourselves. And it also happens to be in an opportunity zone. Our first location is up and running. It's located halfway between Gunnison and Crested Butte on the Taylor River in Taylor Canyon, another beautiful spot. This operates kind of as our prototype model. About 60% of our business model is up and running here, and we're going to be profitable in our second year here in 2021. We've got some serious corporate sponsors behind us like Yeti, Camp Chef, The North Face, New Belgium, and White Claw. Our impact to the community is considerable. Millennials are the most likely to leave a campground during their stay, and they spend on things like dining, shopping, and outdoor recreation as their top 3. And our campground operations rely on local businesses like our Adventure Concierge that uses other outfitters and guides. And we're stewards of recreation by joining local organizations to help improve the recreation that we promote to our guests. And last but not least, we reach a hard to reach demographic through Campfire Ranch, and that's almost like free tourism promotion for these local communities. Our investment opportunity is twofold. First, we're looking to grow to our next location, which is roughly about a $2.5 million investment and has a stabilized net income on an annual basis of $544,000. That's about a 60 campsite model. As we look for land opportunities and long-term financial partners, we plan to grow to national scale, shooting for 60 locations in the next 10 years with a total investment opportunity of over 40 million. I'm Sam Degenhardt. I've lived the camping life my entire life. I've always been a leader, and I'm educated specifically in the outdoors. I have an MBA from Western Colorado University in the outdoor industry, backed with 10 years working at Red Bull North America, producing world-class high-level events. This is just the tip of the Campfire Ranch iceberg. If you'd like to know more, have an awesome piece of land, or just want to come camp with us, check us out at Campfire Ranch or Sam at campfireranch.co. I'd love to talk. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. And judges, feel free to don't pick him apart, but we'll hear what you got to say.
Hey, I'll jump in real quickly. Sam, appreciate the presentation. Are you pre-revenue, or I might have missed that in the presentation?
No, that's not. We're not pre-revenue. We have generated our first season of revenue last year, and we're rolling into season 2.
Okay. Others on the team, in addition to yourself, or is it just you, kind of one-man shop right now? Can you tell us a little bit more about others on your team?
Yeah, one-man shop last year. I have a group of 5 advisors, sort of coworkers that help quite a bit. And then I have 2 interns right now, and we'll have a full-time staff hired and a part-time staff hired this summer.
Okay, last question. I'll let my other judges take it from here. In terms of your strategy, are you intentionally locating in opportunity zones where it makes sense? Or
absolutely,
whether they come around the country?
We're using opportunity zones as a potential growth tool because of distressed areas and the community impact we provide. And they're also generally pretty awesome outdoor places when not in urban areas.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, Sam, nice job, by the way. That was really well done. And I really like the identification of that niche. That was clearly articulated, and that was awesome. So you had me absolutely. I totally got that. So thanks. And then I was the model's fascinating though. It's really seems to me to be more of a real estate play, you know, and so that's interesting. And from an investor perspective, kind of what's your thoughts on the investor returns? Like it seems like they could almost own the property and you could be the kind of the facilitator. I mean, do you see, you know, that you could be the one in that's orchestrating the bookings and all and you know, managing the financial aspect of it, but they would own the land itself? Or do you see Campfire owning that land, or what's your thought on how you might scale?
Thank you. Great questions. We've kind of modeled all of those scenarios and had different investors interested at different levels, whether they're just on the OpCo side or the PropCo side. We've structured the business so we can take investments from either side or from the parent company. So we're kind of prepared for anything, given we're not sure how our growth will happen. Primarily, we want to have the real estate within the Campfire Ranch entity. It provides a low downside risk for investors, but you know, though this is a very large real estate play, we're building a brand in the outdoor industry that is essentially creating a blue ocean market within campgrounds, something that hasn't innovated in 40 years. We see that primarily we're going to lead with the brand, with kind of the sneaky aspect of real estate to back us up behind the scenes. Thank you.
Hey, Sam. Yeah, I thought you had a great presentation. I kind of want to go camping now, but have you identified any of the locations outside of the Gunnison Crested Butte area?
Yes, we have. We've been specifically working on a property in Buena Vista, Colorado over the last 9 months or so. We decided to actually pull out from that property due to some due diligence issues that were extremely costly. So we're on the hunt again, but we do have some spots in Colorado in mind. There are some great OZ areas within the state that are kind of top notch, specifically that Arkansas River Valley from Leadville south down to Salida, really a top market for what we're looking to do. And then we're also looking outside the state. We've been exploring areas in Arkansas, West Texas, and about 80 other places.
And are the identification of those locations based upon investor preferences, or are they more based upon potential consumer. I guess consumer, I don't know if consumer is the right word, but
Yeah, consumer, camper, whatever you like to call them.
yeah.
Yeah, we're leading everything consumer first here. This is an experience-based brand, and that has to be key. So we're looking for destinations that our target wants to go to already. If you think of a comparison in Colorado, for example, we're not necessarily looking for Summit County, right? It's already been discovered. There's tons of lodging options. There's a lot going on. We're looking for places like Buena Vista, where it's kind of up and coming. There's more available real estate. There's more demand, and the community is kind of embracing the growth and the development. So those are key aspects, as well as proximity to colleges and major metros as we look for new locations.
Sam,
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm going to have to cut you off there. Feel free to put your email address into the chat there, and folks can follow up, and we can have a lively chat going as we continue.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. We will go ahead and kick it over to Pooja with Intelligent, and I will be presenting on my end. One moment here. All right, Pooja, you're on the clock.
Good morning, everybody. It is wonderful to be a part of OZ Capital Accelerator program today. I'm Dr. Pooja Khosla, Vice President Client Development at Intelligent, and I will represent mission, vision of Intelligent to all of you here today. Can we advance the slide? So, who else know climate change better than us Coloradians? We live in a beautiful piece of the planet, and last year, most of us were packing our bags and seeking what we should save and what we should keep in the house to burn. California wildfires. Yes, climate change is real, and we all are facing it. So Intelligent here is planning to build up an ecosystem where we can use, 1 second please, I'm sorry, so sorry.
We lost her.
Did we lose Pooja?
We did. Jack, do you think maybe we should go to the next presenter and come back to Pooja? Because I'd love to see her entire presentation uninterrupted.
Yeah, we will do that. Oh, she's coming back. Don't worry. Pooja, are you back? We just let her back in the room. Okay, we'll have Pooja go up next. Elizabeth, if you're ready to go, we can jump right in with you.
I am indeed. I can certainly be ready to go. Let me go ahead and pull this presentation up. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for making time to join us today. My name is Elizabeth Gray. I am the founder and director of Oxford Tutors and Thought Club. This idea came about, I've been running a business called Oxford Tutors in New York City for the last 15 years. We have an existing revenue stream, run a profit margin of about 75%, and use the Socratic method to support children ages 5 to adults of 25, 30 in learning to develop their thought. COVID has presented a really interesting moment of responsibility to my mind, which is it made me aware of the degree of educational opportunity gap and the extent to which we are not resolving this as a nation. And I think at this point we can expect it to only get larger. So the question at hand is, Alexander the Great had Aristotle. Who does your child have? Our current client base obviously has Oxford Tutors, but we're looking to build something bigger than Oxford Tutors, and that is Thought Club. So the problem at hand today is that the US education system is pretty broken. We see this both in public and in private schools. There's an international index, which is pretty helpful here when thinking about the problem of education, the Worldwide Education for the Future Index, which the Economist publishes every year, places the US 35th of 50 nations for its education. And so we're stuck in a rut in terms of our education, which will ultimately lead to the economic decline of our country. The problem, according to, you would say, the Worldwide Education for the Future Index here, is that American kids aren't actually learning how to think in school. So the Worldwide Education for the Future Index suggests these 5 vectors for learning success: critical thought, problem solving, leadership, collaboration, and resiliency. So our goal then is to develop these 5 modalities for learning to see if we can turn some of this around. The solution we found, which we've been doing from a service-based business perspective for the last 15 years, as I mentioned, is really teaching children via the Socratic method. I myself grew up in the rural American South and somehow ended up at Oxford University for my undergrad and my master's. And that experience changed my life, mostly because it was the first time I was taught Socratically, as Ron Stites alluded to earlier. Being taught purely through questioning is a very, very different way of learning than anything that happens presently in the United States education system in K-12 or indeed at the college level. The model here is basically that critical thought enables independent learning. And if we can ultimately teach children how to think for themselves, they can actually take responsibility for their own learning rather than placing that responsibility always in the hands of educators. So how is Socratic learning different? This is a question we get a lot. Because it's a question-based learning approach, it means that you're never really telling a child anything. You're asking them questions. So Socratic method works very differently for a 7-year-old than it does for a 12-year-old, than it does for an 18-year-old, than it does for a 35-year-old trying to build a business. But at core, you're always working with people to think through their own thoughts and take responsibility for those thoughts. Ultimately, this leads to greater self-sufficiency as a learner, as a thinker, and I would argue as a doer as well. So this is a tried and tested model. There's nothing new about it. Actually, Socratic tutoring is a pretty old methodology here. The elite have been educating their children this way forever, right? Alexander really did have Aristotle. And so in essence, this becomes a sort of self-perpetuating cycle of privilege, which is that the wealthy hire the brightest tutors for individual learning support. The superior thought that the children develop leads to superior opportunity and then superior educational access. So the question that came to me and the burden that came to me, I think, in seeing what's been happening with COVID is how do we give every child a chance to learn this way, right? We've done an excellent job of providing this to the people who can pay for it and pay for the premium. But we've not really done a good job of making sure that every child has equal access to this ability to learn. So our plan moving forward, and one of the reasons why we wanted to move out to Colorado to an economic opportunity zone, we want to continue to offer a high-end service-based model of Socratic tutoring and mentorship. As I mentioned before, we're doing this very well. And one thing that we noted in our move, our COVID transition, is that our clients were completely willing to retain their price points for their mentorship, and that our team could actually serve our clients remotely and not be in person in New York City. So we want to continue our service-based work, but more importantly and more innovatively, we're working presently on creating a Socratic artificial intelligence that will replace the more passive Siri approach to AI. The idea behind this is that ultimately we can offer kids a replacement to that Siri moment. The idea came when I was talking to my nephew, who was 5 at the time, and he went to an iPhone. He said, Siri, you can ask me questions now if you would like to. And I thought, that's brilliant. We could actually replace this. So that's what we're working on now. And that's really why we're trying to raise this additional capital. So why are we the people to do this? And why would you ever invest in us? We're a successful established business. We have an existing revenue stream. We currently run a 75% margin, as I mentioned, on our service-based business, which we plan to continue. We're just pivoting our income over to an economic opportunity zone. I myself am an EOZ investor, and I began to explore relocating our business when I myself could not find business-based EOZ opportunities. I found that real estate was the safer investment, and I wanted to create a space where people could safely and excitingly invest in business. We're well-respected and well-connected leaders in education, innovation, and reform already. We have an existing client base of elite clients internationally. These are heads of state. These are Oscar-winning actors. These are professional athletes. We have a lot of people with power who will vouch for the good work that we're doing. And we have more than 60 plus Socratic mentors who are already trained in this methodology and able to do what we need to do. I'm an Oxford alum. I have extensive experience with the Socratic method, and I'm presently serving as a Grand Strategy Fellow at Yale, working on education policy reform. Additionally, I think our relocation to the Colorado EOZ zone further reduces our cost and optimizes our margin on our existing revenue stream, and gives us an opportunity to do a lot of the data aggregation on the Socratic AI side by benefiting Colorado local communities. Lastly, I would just say that our dynamic service and ed tech combo model ensures multiple revenue streams and also multiple exit strategies. We're particularly lucky to have at the head of our Socratic AI development, our CTO is a former Google AI expert who really does work very specifically on advanced language-based AI. So that's where we are right now. I would welcome any future conversations, or if you just want to practice some Socratic method with me, would love that. I can be found here, and look forward to your questions.
Thanks, Elizabeth. That'll give us just 3 minutes for some quick questions from our judges.
So I'll go, Elizabeth. Wow, that was great. That's an exciting project. I get the alignment with the OZ. I'm wondering why you want to raise money. I mean, it seems like you're generating enough money internally with this organization that you could just bootstrap it. You could maybe go after an SBIR or something like that funds the development of this. I mean, it seems like it would be a hot area to try to find some grant funds to build the tech. Why is it that you want to raise money?
We want to raise money to move more swiftly. So we can absolutely bootstrap this. You're 100% correct about that. And if we don't raise the money, we will keep moving at the speed we're moving. If we raise this $2 million, we can basically arrive at prototype by the end of the summer. So arriving at the Socratic prototype is pretty important in terms of I think creating early exit possibility for investors who might be interested, and also I think very personally around this question of creating solutions for children who've been negatively impacted by COVID. I see it as a responsibility to at least see if we can raise the money and create this technology in time for the kids who are really are suffering and are going to suffer trying to get back into education.
Time for one more question and one more quick answer.
Just one question, Jack. Elizabeth, thanks for your presentation. I really enjoyed learning more about what you guys are doing. I had 3 questions, Jack, so now I got to figure out which one to ask. I guess I was going to ask you about your capital stack and how that looks and what you're looking for in terms of equity and debt. But I'm gonna take the question of who specifically are you targeting with your platform in terms of the student, the kid? Is it the kids who live in these economically distressed areas in the OZs, or is it other families?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the answer is twofold here. The reality is this technology, we anticipate selling in a B2B way. I anticipate a sale to either Apple or to Google. But in the meantime, we'll be actually collecting the data that we need via offering Socratic tutoring for free to these families in need. So the idea here is that we aggregate the hours of Socratic tutoring, donating those hours to the kids who need this service. We do that as live tutoring. We aggregate the data, And then it will be up to whoever buys this Socratic AI. No one's attempted Socratic AI because no one has access to that many kids, that many hours of tutoring.
Okay.
And so that's why no one's actually tried this so far. I hope that answered your question.
It does, and if ever you want to follow up, I co-founded one of the largest public charter schools in Colorado, and have 800 kids at the school, actually in an OZ, 2/3 Black and Hispanic, 1/3 Caucasian. So if ever I could link you to help maybe provide that service to some of those kids,
Perfect.
happy to.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's great. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Ryan, for the feedback. Pooja, how about we give it another try here? Are you online? And
Yes, I am online, and sorry we faced one more e-meet crash. Voice of working from home, you don't know what device your kids are setting alarm in what room.
Well, this should come up in just a second here. All right, go right ahead.
Okay, so I missed here, and I will start here. So who else know climate change better than us, living in beautiful Rockies and seeing the half of the range of Rockies burning last year? So Intelligent is building an ecosystem where we have ability to build a corporate solutions where we can get all stakeholders, the investors, the companies, and financial markets together to build systems where we invest in funds, ETFs, and annuities for our college savings for our kids, for our retirement savings in funds with a purpose where we see maximum carbon reductions and maximum impact towards climate change. Next slide, please. So the company is a dream of two climate professional. One is our CEO, Tom Stoner. This is Tom's fourth venture. He has experience in getting multiple companies public. Eco Energy was the last company that got public by him, and it's traded in London Stock Exchange. And our board chair is David Schimmer, climate scientist. David got his Nobel Prize with Al Gore. They wrote a beautiful book in early 2014, Big Change, Small Changes, Big Gains, where they proved that how we can use the information from global circulation models, climate models, and translate them into actionable data, which can be integrated in building financial products and gear the market towards maximum climate change contributions. Today, we have a staff of 19. We have offices in US and UK. We have 4 product offerings, and we are working with 7 partners already. And we have secured an IP to make sure that we restrict the rights and use cases of these products with the leaders that are building climate change products. Our IP is granted in US and it's published in Europe and Hong Kong. We are partnering with leading principal responsible investors like United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund, UBS, Society Generale in product development and our subscription models as well. Next slide, please. So you may wonder, how do we make money? We are doing good and we are doing well. Yes, we are able to make money for our investors as well as contribute the maximum towards climate change. So we have 2 types of product lines over here. The first product line is AUM partnership. Under AUM partnerships, we have 2 products, ESG product development and portfolio optimization. We have active clients in these areas. We have UBS and Society Generale for product development, and a boutique investment firm, Prometheus Capital, under portfolio optimization services. Here we work with these banks, institutional investors to build active financial products which are climate resilient as well as climate aligned. We take in benchmark indexes like S&P 500, ACWI. We run screening algorithms and optimization algorithms to make sure that we invest money in these indexes where the value to climate is maximized. And we also have subscription models. The two products under our subscription models are carbon evaluations and climate enterprise risk solutions. Clients like United Nations Joint Staff Pension Funds and other asset owners like this product because they can build data dashboards where they can screen their investments and make sure their investments are integrated with net zero and Paris Accord. Next slide, please. We are catering into a huge market. We have experienced sales teams and we use market intelligence, Salesforce system. Our market includes 6,000 target institutional investors with 110 trillion in assets. We have 4 product lines which are catering needs of all types of investors like asset managers, asset owners, investment platforms, and market data providers. Next slide, please. So here is the revenue forecast that I would like to share with the OZ platform over here. So under the first product type, AUM product type, we have a couple of book deals like our product with the Society Journal is live and it will go on commercial markets actively on April 1st. And this product is a fixed income annuity product where investors like you and I can invest for purpose. And we have also a lot of booked revenue by the product line that we are building with UBS Capital as well as Prometheus. And the other is the subscription model where we have partnerships with data providers like FactSet, Variety platforms, where through these data providers, which have a representation to 155K users in 32 countries, our data can be marketed and made available through the platform which users are using already. So we want to go to their systems. You will ask me how we can see 10 million plus run rate increase in the AUM product. And these projections are based on, and I see Ryan nodding his head, so I think I touched the question he was about to ask me. So usually these products go to commercial markets and they go with a huge bang. And these products enjoy, especially the annuity products, ETFs, enjoy run rate of 50 to 100 million per quarter. So if I scale that into multiple booked revenues that we have with SocGen, UBS, and we are talking to other big players as well to build these kinds of products which are targeted to commercial markets to reach investors like us, to reach our retirement fund accounts, call it saving accounts, then we could see these kinds of hockey stick projections that I am showing over here. So our annualized recurring revenue has been projected to $5.1 million, and we are booking revenues here, talking to big banks, institutional investors to build more and more investable solutions with us. Next slide, please. So we are in market for our Series A. We are looking and talking very seriously to anchored investors who really want to invest in us, which includes 2 European banks, which are under top 10 asset under management, which includes second biggest data provider. But I am here in front of you talking to you because we are a Colorado company and we want some Colorado representations in our books, in our investments, in our ownership. And we want to book a certain percentage of our investment for our Series A to be offered to Colorado because we want to increase participation of Colorado in the climate change landscape, and we see our company as a climate fintech, a growing climate fintech, which will bring a lot of employments, academic partnerships in Colorado. Our pre-money valuation is at $35.5 million. And second question is that you may ask that, hey, we have partners like UBS and SocGen already, and we are looking into anchor investors. Why I'm here talking to you? So here we are building products. We are building products which are financial products. The build time of these products, it's between 8 to 10 months. And so we are here getting the rocket ready, but this rocket needs a lot of fuel. So we need some fuel before we can make all these products with our partnership active on the market. So common investors, people like I and you, can invest in climate change through our retirement accounts, through our college saving accounts, and through our robo-advising accounts. And to reach there, we need more investments. Next slide, please.
Okay, sorry about that. Sorry, I lost you. Pooja, you're over your 7 minutes. If you're okay with opening it up to questions with the
Yes, so I'll go next to the questions. Happy to answer any.
I don't want to. I'll defer to Andrew if you want to go first. I have a couple questions though.
No, you go for it, Ryan.
Thanks, man. Hey, Pooja, really exciting. I love the fact that you all are not only in the ESG space, but that you've married it with OZs. I've been an advocate that OZs and ESG fit together. So this is really exciting. Now, when I looked at your presentation, it looks like you're not quite, obviously, at recurring revenue of 3 million, but you believe you'll be there by next year. Because, obviously, I know a number of funds who would be interested, but they like to have a recurring revenue of 3 million. They tend to give larger check sizes. So I want to make sure I read that right in terms of where you think you'll be recurring revenue over and above 3 million by next year.
So Ryan, this recurring revenue is projected based on the deals which we have already in place with the UBS, Society General, Prometheus Capital, direct indexing products, and revenues. These products are soon to be launched, and they are seeing revenue and the revenue growth. Plus, we are also actively talking to large clients to build similar kinds of products, out of which we are hopeful we're going to convert 2-3 big more giants to get into the market. So you're absolutely right. We are at the verge to get there.
Great. And I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee. ESG is a space I specialize in, so this is fascinating. But in particular, I've been talking to a couple of larger pension funds, some of them in Colorado, some not, who have innovation funds. I feel like this would fit very well into their strike zone of what they're looking to do.
Yes, Ryan. So we have tested a lot of data in our end where this climate resiliency strategy that we are providing is not in competition with other ESG data. In fact, it is a value added to this data. So with adding this data, we can accelerate the momentum of these funds towards net zero climate targets by maximizing their carbon reductions of the fund and keeping the goal of making climate alpha, where we can give a win-win solution. So I know there are solutions, but this is a very additive solutions. And that is why a player who is very rich in ESG like UBS want to partner with us.
Yep. And lastly, Jack, and I'll shut up. I assume you guys have taken the steps to align with the Sustainable Accounting Standards Board, or GRI.
Absolutely. In fact, I myself is a member of GRI and GARP and others. So absolutely. And we are very much into TCFD space too. So the scenario analysis and portfolio optimization, our entire projection is based on the TCFD recommendation of scenario risk analysis for the financial intermediaries.
Coffee on me whenever you want it. So,
okay, keep
me in mind.
I'll take you up on that.
Thank you both. We're unfortunately going to have to cut it off there.
I'm so sorry, Jack. Don't do that, man. Let somebody get a question at Thea.
All right, we can do one 30-second question. Andrew or Thea, go right ahead.
I'm sure Thea has a much smarter question than I do, so I'll defer.
Not fair, Andrew. I'm just wondering the trajectory. I mean, this thing, I thank you for Ryan for your questions, because I was kind of like, how does this relate to to OZ? But okay, got it. What's your trajectory? I mean, IPO. I mean, what's your time frame? This thing could and should, I guess, grow fast.
So, I and my CEO strongly believe we want to be an independent data provider. And we don't want to blur the truth of science that we provide, the information we provide. And so I think IPO will be the strategy, Thea, moving forward.
We'll leave it there. Thank you. If we have Josh Freed from Proximity here, Josh, I'll give you the stage to talk through what it was like actually receiving an Opportunity Zone investment.
Yeah, thank you. Also, it was great to see those pitches. So good morning. Yeah, my name is Josh Freed, the CEO of Proximity. It's fun to kind of go through names on here and see some friends on there. It's great to see everybody. Jack, and I appreciate the invitation, and I let it. It was kind of funny. I was asked to talk about how he did it with Opportunity Zone operating business into a high growth company. And it was actually one of those things where I had to step back and be like, I got to remember how we did that. It's kind of been a year and several months since our first investment. So I wanted to answer that question that Jack put to me in a way that hopefully is the most beneficial for any companies that will see this. One, I can tell you that you need to have a lot of conversations. There are a lot of very smart people on this call that are aligned with how to fit a business into an Opportunity Zone and take advantage of it. But I think the biggest thing, if I'm answering the question about how we did it, and maybe I'll pause there for a second. I was kind of wrapped up in the last pitch, so I'm like switching gears out of that. It was a great pitch. Proximity is a co-working space and flex office software. So we backbone some 600 locations around the country. We help with access control, membership, and obviously given our world's shift to flex has been a very busy year for us. Our whole entire goal was around making space and people easier to manage. So we were located in Opportunity Zone. We were in a right timing. We had a company that was aligned to Opportunity Zone qualifications. But if I was answering the question of how did we do it, I wanted to kind of pose this concept of you had to really go at this from a learn to speak OZ and not just from a standpoint of you want the capital. And I think that was the big thing. Like we had to become very good at understanding what Opportunity Zone meant to people, what it means to investment, how it changes their capital stack. And it seems like once we got our proficiency up, it became easier to have the conversations with investors as to what their goals were. So from our point of view, we had a lot of conversations. We've taken in investments from funds like the Center on Rural Innovation from Corey, and then a lot of high net worth investors. And it's always come around to this concept of you need to understand the difference this capital is, and is it actually right for an operating business? It's a great fit for the real estate world. Sam, your presentation was awesome earlier, and I love Campfire Ranch. But from an operating business standpoint, this is a 10-year horizon. This is capital that needs to understand what happens to a company, especially a high growth company, over the next 10 years and how you're going to adjust for it. And I think that if I looked back on what was like a turning point to making it happen is when we started to show paths for exit possibilities, but then paths for longevity. That it's a much different pitch than a venture style fund would be, where it's go really, really fast and let's see what happens. This has more of an impact to it. It has more of a flavor for long-term and what are you doing in your communities. So, it's such a challenging question to really try to fit if OZ Capital can fit in a capital stack with a high growth company. And I can look back now, a year plus afterwards and still having conversations with taking on more OZ Capital, that it is actually a really neat path for a company to take where you are not so geared to massive growth, but good, sustainable, and even exponential growth with a plan for what is next, not a plan for when are you exiting. The exit still can happen. You have to have all of those contingencies in place, but it's a very, I don't know, there's something about patient capital that allows a company to actually just grow and grow in a meaningful way. So Jack, I wish I'm going to leave a little bit more time for questions because Ryan can answer a ton of these. Andrew, I know you can see I can answer more questions than any of us combined. Let's just all get that clear. And then you also have like Sean for 4 points on here. Like you guys have a stack of experts that are within your sphere. I'm happy to answer questions about like, what did we use and what did we do? And leave the rest of the time for that, or I can keep rambling, which I'm also capable of doing as well too.
That was great. Thank you, Josh. And I know I told our attendees to type your questions into the chat. Right now is the one exception. Feel free to unmute and ask any questions you have for Josh for the next few minutes here.
Yeah, and if you don't give any, I will just talk. I'm okay with awkward silence, and I'll fill it. It's fine.
Accelerator participants, you're also welcome to chime in.
Hi, Josh. This is Marcy Morganson. I'm with Susu House and have been studying OZ zones for 2 years and was so excited when you all got your first investment and have been following your progress ever since. So congratulations, one.
Thank you.
And I know you talked about, really trying to fit into the spirit of the opportunity zone legislation. And how are you tracking social impact, or is that important to your investors, or?
If I'm answering, well, you never know who will end up watching this, but yes, of course, social impact is always important. If I'm tracking, if I'm honest about what we're tracking, what we're really keeping track of right now internally, we're keeping track of how do you keep a company that is trying to grow rapidly, keep it qualified? How do you show a growth path? I mean, there's something really interesting about trying to show a growth path for 10-year horizon when it comes to where are people at, where are your headquarters at, where are your assets at? What is your asset stack going to change to that keeps those qualifications intact? That's what we're tracking most of all. And the impact itself is, there are some really, for us, there's some neat things that you can do, of course, within the co-working sphere and software, but it is a little harder when you're talking about an operating business to show social impact outside of personal impact, because you're a high growth company. So that impact is not felt the same way as like revamping downtowns and changing properties. So from a tracking standpoint, just in all honesty, we're tracking how do we keep as a good operating OZ company, and what do we need to provide to those investors to keep them in a good status, because ultimately the benefit is back to them, right? So you really want to make sure that you're protecting your investors, that their assets stay in good status. I know it's not exactly the answer, but Marcy, thank you so much.
And we got another question in the chat from one of our
I saw that.
participants. Jervis, you're welcome to just say it out loud. You're up next anyway, so might as well test out your audio.
Yeah, Josh, you mentioned patient capital investors, and how do you where are those people?
Oh, I know, man, seriously. Okay, now I would say, and there are smarter people on here than I can go for this. Things like family offices, if you're going bigger ones, things like institutional that have long time horizons tend to be where those are going to be found at. Obviously, funds that are geared towards OZ are geared towards long horizons as well too. If you're looking on the individual side, where I found success was ones that were nearby where you physically are. You tend to find more high net worth. I would steer those towards funds typically because you want a sophistication level there. But the high net worth investors that are trying to get their communities to push forward is a very good path to finding those. And where we found a lot of success was in ones that were trying to make a difference with companies that were nearby. So the fact that you were employing there, you had headquarters there, you were pushing their communities forward. That is a much different type. So I hope that answers it. But I would say that I like looking at companies that are and funds that are set up with patients in mind. And that tends to be the OZ focused ones and the family offices ones. They're not looking for quick flashes in the pan. And it's too risky for them to do those flashes in the pan. It's not in their portfolio. The other question was cost, I think is one I saw one, right? It flashed up my screen real quick. How much legal setup for your QOV? Legal setup, I mean, I think we were probably 20,000 in, if I had to guess. It's going to be somewhere in that range. But honestly, that was a lot of research on my end. So I think it's probably over the 2 years, it's lowering quite a bit because there's more out there. And by the way, there's still, this is like, if you get into this, and I can't, for the companies that are on or will see this, be careful and do your due diligence on this type of capital, because it changes how your company is going to operate. It changes how you're going to stay qualified. It changes a lot. So make sure you're not just going after cash, you're going after the reason for the cash. Because even right now, like, there are still some regulations that are not quite baked as far as what qualifies as an asset, and making sure that this works for growth. And now People are working from home versus from a headquarters. Like this you're going to continuously have to keep a company qualified and keep up to date on it. So it's not as easy as taking a venture's money and then just doing your business. Now you have to stay up to date on this stuff.
That was really helpful. Thank you, Josh, and appreciate you volunteering your time and your experience here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll defer any other questions to the chat. Jervis, you can stay unmuted if you'd like to go ahead, and we'll jump back into the pitches here.
Thanks, Jack. Is that screen showing up?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everybody for being on today. It's been awesome so far to hear from some other great innovators and folks that are focusing on solving problems. I'm here as the co-founder and CEO of Prosper Bridge, and Prosper Bridge is all about solving problems. Most Americans are not making financial progress. That has serious consequences at the individual and societal level, and it threatens the security and sustainability of our workforce. Put simply, most people can't figure out how to turn their income into progress for themselves and their families. We call this problem financial exclusion, and it is rampant. The vast majority of employees are struggling to make ends meet. Nearly 7 in 10 lack basic emergency funds, and nearly 8 in 10 live paycheck to paycheck. And this is not just an income issue. 32% of workers making over $200,000 a year are running out of money between paychecks. The inescapable truth is that the traditional compensation systems are failing to help workers attain financial stability, and financial success feels completely out of reach for most people. The reason it's so hard is because we have a broken financial system that traps people in cycles of debt and inefficiency, incentivizes consumerism, and disproportionately impacts women and people of color. Those system issues combine with the rising core costs of housing, education, and healthcare to make progress harder than it's ever been. I want to put this in perspective because this is the #1 problem for working Americans. And it's the primary cause of stress for over half of all employees, more than all other responses combined. Even during the pandemic, money concerns have outstripped physical health concerns, mental health concerns, and emotional and relational issues. And it crushes employers with over $500 billion a year in turnover and productivity costs, and piles on more costs in health, culture, and safety losses that have not yet been quantified. If employees can't convert their work into meaningful progress, what is their incentive to achieve? What is their incentive to stay at a company? The solution is to provide the tools and guidance to help people convert their compensation, their wages, benefits, and other resources into positive outcomes. Prosper Bridge gives everyone a personal CFO who does just that. It starts with breaking the cycles that lock people out of financial progress with capital cash solutions and financial organization tools. We provide guidance specific to the personal circumstances of each participant, and we never sell to or solicit participants. Salespeople are not the solution to this problem. Ultimately, cutting-edge technology and resources combine with essential human connection to help people make meaningful change and turn their income into outcomes. Accountability partnership, task assistance, advocacy, advice, and education, our personal CFOs, we call them personal prosperity assistants or PPAs, do all of that. Part of our strategy is utilizing a location-neutral workforce eligible for several Colorado incentive programs. It's the people that make this business work, and we are dedicated to becoming an employee-owned business within 5 years to make sure that all of our people share in any exit event. What we're asking for is $1.8 million to hire 25 frontline employees and support staff, to formalize and package our training program to deploy it on demand and at scale, provide the necessary resources to our team, and to advertise and build a custom proposal and ROI program. Why 1.8 million? It allows us to quickly hire and train the necessary workforce to scale what we do, provide attractive returns to investors, and establish ourselves in the market before we are copied. And we hope to be copied, by the way. Most importantly, it opens our ideal market right away. ProsperBridge works best when we're serving larger companies. It's more efficient and more profitable, but we need people to do that. We can deliver attractive mid and long-term returns and ultimately impact more people, employers, and communities more quickly. We want our benefit to become part of the standard of compensation systems and help fix a broken system that locks most Americans out of financial progress and keeps them and their employers from reaching their potential.
All right, should we open it up to the judges?
Okay, I think Andrew, you have to go first.
Well, I don't know if I necessarily have any questions. I mean, obviously this is, more of your technology-based platform. I think some of the issues that we would deal with would be more ancillary to your location and whatnot versus the monetization of the I guess the investor interest that would be more suited for you and Ryan to ask.
Sweet. I guess I'm curious about your kind of your traction at this point and what your MVP looks like, and versus your minimum viable product versus kind of where you see yourself in your, the way you're developing your products down the road. It's a big vision. It's an important one. We know that. And I like the fact that you're trying to kind of have this trusted peer one-to-one type relationship. I'm just wondering what, and this is a complicated question. I'm sure that Ryan's going to get into it too, but, monetization strategy, MVP, product trajectory, give us some insight on that.
Yeah, that's a big question, Thea. I'll do my best to answer it, and please feel welcome to ask follow-ups. You're right, it is a big issue and something has to be done. We're fortunately on the front end of a human capital solutions wave. And employers are keenly aware of this issue and how big of a problem it is, and that the financial wellness solutions that exist in the market today are not working. So we're right on the front end of a very important trend. We are operating with our first client. We just started. Our last piece of our puzzle, our capital solutions, came online just 10 days ago. So we now have the MVP. The product is set up and ready to go. And if I had a team of 25, then some of the employers that I've talked with thousands of employees, I would call them tomorrow and say, we're ready to help. So the system is built, it's ready to go. And we're excited about having our opportunity to deploy it. I hope that answered your question.
So your sticky point is really getting the staffing up
Correct.
and trained and that piece of the, okay, thank you.
Yeah, 100%. So the reality of changing behavior and helping people make lasting change is that apps don't do it. I know a lot of people on this call don't want to hear that, but the reality is that human connection is essential, and adding accountability, partnership, and coaching dramatically increases the chances that people are going to reach goals, and we need the people to make that work. Ryan, I was excited to get some questions from you, man. You got some of those series licenses and nonsense that I used to hold in my previous life.
Yeah, I was trying to not take up the questions, man. I want to let Andrew and Thea do it. But no, great presentation. I really enjoy what you're doing. It seems very, very exciting. Real quickly on the again, I'll ask you the question on your capital stack, Jervis. You're looking to raise 1.7 million, or is it, I think 8 million.
1.8.
1.8 million. How much of that in equity versus debt?
That's a great question. And I'm going to answer it philosophically first and then practically second. We want to get our medicine into the mouths of as many people as possible. So I don't really care how our model grows. If it's through acquisition, if it's through partnership, or if it's through direct equity investment, convertible notes. What I do care about are two things. One, that we're able to get this solution out to more people more quickly. And two, that the people that end up providing the service that make it work get to benefit on the back end. So I don't want to give away so much equity that when our employees own the company, there's nothing left on the bone for them.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Does that make sense? Oh, where we're at right now, it's founders money only at this point.
And you're pre-revenue, right?
No, we have a working client,
Okay.
but I would say we're as close to pre-revenue as you can be without getting it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
I saw Jack shaking his head. That's my cue to shut up. So I'm gonna shut up. So.
Not at all. I was checking my timer on my phone here, which does indicate we have about 5 seconds left. So shout anything you want for 5 seconds, Jervis.
I really appreciate the questions. I'll put my contact information in the chat.
Thanks so much, Jervis. And now we will turn it over to our friends at the newly named The Feastery. Take it away, Steve. Steve, you're muted.
Well, now you can probably hear me. This is my wife, Laura. Hi, she's my business partner and wife. And we want to thank Jack and everybody at OEdit and Ron and Jeff especially for all their help with our project. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my slides.
I've got them queued up on my end if you'd like me to share them, Steve.
I think I've got it, don't I? Okay. So our project is, I've been in the food service industry all of my life, and our project is called The Feastery. It's a pickup and delivery complex for ghost kitchens. You might have heard the terms ghost kitchens. And you know, the business problem is that restaurants have faced growing challenges for years. Most Colorado restaurants only drop 5 to 8% to the bottom line. Of course, COVID showed up and resulted in reducing operating hours, limited seating. It caused bankruptcies and permanent closures. And obviously, we all know that the restaurant industry has just been decimated. President Biden passed the American Rescue Plan earlier this month, and it's going to provide $28.6 billion in grants for the restaurant industry with a focus on smaller and independent operations. Ghost kitchens and virtual kitchens. You probably heard these terms and you may know something about them. Sometimes they're called dark kitchens or headless kitchens. And they're basically for pickup and delivery only. There's no on-premise dining with these facilities. It's a digital presence for marketing, order fulfillment, and delivery dispatching. And usually these places are aligned with the third-party delivery services like Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, and the like. So what are they? The Feastery is a ghost kitchen complex. And a ghost kitchen complex is made up of many kitchens that are leased to food service operators, something like WeWork for kitchens. Virtual kitchens, on the other hand, are really an additional brand that's produced in an existing restaurant. For example, Fazoli's has launched a virtual brand called Wingville. And the Feastery can operate multiple brands from each kitchen as well. So we're a ghost kitchen, but you could have 3 or 4 concepts coming out of each one of those kitchens. So what do we do at the Feastery? We design kitchens, we build and manage them, and this is what one of them might look like. You can see there are 10 kitchens here, and there are shared cold and dry storage. We got offices, of course, and a shared dish machine. And the customers, our tenants will all bring in their own equipment depending on what kind of food they're going to cook. So they may need fryers, they may need ovens, but they'll supply their own equipment. We also do the technology management. My background is in technology. So the way it works is, you know, you have an iPhone, a computer, you can call in on a phone, and you can order food from any one of our kitchens. And you can then, mom can get sushi, dad gets a burger, kids get nuggets, and you can get groceries too. And the idea is they'll all come from one delivery and give people a lot of options. We also are going to manage our own delivery. It turns out delivery is a pretty good revenue stream. You get much faster delivery times this way. We'll have our own crew lined up, ready for orders. We're also very focused on hospitality, so our drivers will all have their own, they'll know our menus completely, friendly, and they're going to be W-2 employees with benefits. We'll have regularly cleaned and disinfected vehicles and follow CDC guidelines and local health department best practices. We really focus on cleanliness and sanitary procedures. And it turns out of all the things we do, the delivery it turns out to be the best revenue stream we've got. So why us? So we're going to manage the entire process. We're going to manage the delivery, the facility, the technology, and our tenants can focus on preparing awesome food. We also coach. We've got significant background in marketing, restaurant accounting, food service sanitation, labor and inventory controls. And our goal is to help our tenants succeed. And by doing it this way, we also create economies of scale, and we create cooperative buying opportunities. And we'll also make group insurance and other benefits programs available to our tenants. We're basically partners with our tenants financially. We can only succeed if our tenants succeed. This is a pro forma that we put together for our tenants. And of course, sales and costs might vary, but there are a lot of financial advantages to leasing a ghost kitchen. Labor costs are much lower than a restaurant because there's no front of the house employees. And the economies of scale for purchasing goods and cost of goods can be much lower because you're combining all these kitchens and purchasing as one. Typical restaurants, like we said earlier, a typical restaurant in Colorado can drop 5 to 8% of the bottom line. And the other thing is, you know, it costs $500,000 to $1 million to open a restaurant, and the upfront cost for our tenants is much, much lower. So there's a lot of competition out there. There's billions of dollars are being invested. There's a facility in Denver called Cloud Kitchens, which is up and running. It's got 56 kitchens like the ones I showed you, and they've bought 4 more properties in Denver. There's other companies called Kitchen United, Reef Technologies. It's a big, big industry. And we think bigger isn't necessarily better because a lot of these places are really just delivering Wendy's and other fast food. Chick-fil-A is involved, and we're not really, we're not going to sell the quick service. We want to be local chefs and local restaurateurs. And all of these big companies are focused on big cities, and they already have millions in funding. So really, there's not a lot of opportunity to invest in those companies. Market potential. Ghost kitchens are projected to reach $1 trillion in sales by 2030. And they serve a small delivery area, so there's going to be a lot of these in each community. And we feel like restaurant owners and food service workers need good opportunities everywhere. So here's where we are today. We actually looked at a few properties. We've put together some projects. But right now we've kind of taken a step back to do some marketing. So we're in the midst of doing branding. We've got branding and market feasibility studies going on. We've got some construction estimates for a project that we came close to doing on the Western Slope. And obviously, we're looking for opportunity zone real estate. Right now, we're looking in Grand Junction, Colorado Springs, and Fort Collins for our first one. And obviously, we're looking for funding. Before the question's asked, yes, we're pre-revenue. We've got the construction estimates, and it's about $2 million to build one of these buildings if you built it from ground up. We could also build one in an existing building of 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. And our idea is to find a real estate investor, and we would carry the master lease so they could secure their investment with the real estate itself. Our tenants will pay around $4,200 per month, and they also pay a share of the CAM. And we just want to have the first rights to purchase at the end of the 10 years. The investors we've talked to basically want to sell at 10 years and 1 day when it's an opportunity zone investment. So we're looking
on this slide quickly as you're over 7 minutes.
Oh, okay. So this is what we think we can generate in profits. $1.5 million a year between our management fees and our delivery fees. And we're looking for the right investor to help us grow. This is me. I've been in restaurants forever, restaurant technology. And this is my wife. And my time is up.
Thanks, Steve. We'll open it up. We have 3 minutes for some quick questions from our judges.
Well, I'll just jump in real quickly. I have been involved in the kitchen incubation industry since its beginning, and actually was the director of the Business Incubator Center when we did the feasibility study to start the shared use commercial kitchen that's located here in Grand Junction. So I'm happy to connect with you. Ran that project for 13 years and was on the beginning of that whole thing. So super glad to see how this thing's progressing, and I'll let my other judges ask some questions, but I'll stick my email in the chat.
Let me just say that, Thea, we've already been down there to the incubator. We think it's great. We've done a tour there with Ron Stites, and we think it'd be a great progression for the people that learn from the incubator to take a kitchen in our facility.
Absolutely.
Hey, Steve. I don't necessarily have any questions. I just wanted to kind of, lay out that I think, the structure as you've laid out is nothing sort of innovative and is actually a fairly simple process from a legal standpoint anyways. So not necessarily a question, but I like the idea, I like the presentation, and I think it should be fairly straightforward as long as you can find obviously the real estate.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan, any quick comments before we move along?
No, I think it's great what you're doing, and you answered my question obviously on the pre-revenue piece, but also you answered my question about maybe collaborating with another real estate player in the OZ space who, instead of perhaps needing that money to go acquire the land, maybe it just makes more sense to locate with someone who's already has the land and looking for tenants like yourself.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we've looked at a lot of different ways, and we feel like the easiest way for us to get an investor is to, like I say, they can secure their investment with the real estate itself, so we can do our proof of concept.
Right.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thank you, Jack.
And now we will, sorry, I previewed it. I didn't realize my screen was still sharing, but next up we've got Frank Moe and the Yampa Valley Adventure Center. I will be sharing from my screen in just one moment. Frank, take it away. You are on mute. You're still on mute, Frank.
Got it.
There you are.
Okay. Thank you, Jack, and thank you, everybody, for all of their valuable time. It's quite an honor to be part of a group making a presentation. I've been extremely impressed with all of the presentations going back and forth. Again, my name's Frank Moe. I'm a business person, community advocate, and former county commissioner in Moffat County. Next slide, please. Okay, Craig, Colorado is in Moffat County, and it's Colorado's great northwest. As you can see in the background, there's a picture of the Craig Station. It's one of the largest coal mines in the coal-fired power plants in the nation. We also have 3 surface mines in our area. Next slide, please. Okay. Craig has been called a coal town in transition. Next slide. What we're doing with the project that I'm working on, it's a community-based project. We are seeking a just transition into the new energy economy. Next slide, please. Now is the time for our area to diversify our economy and get into the new energy economy. Next slide, please. The project that I'm presenting is going to be offering over 24 business opportunities. Next, please. It's going to be creating over 100 jobs, not counting the ancillary jobs, which will probably be in the 150 range. This project is shovel ready, and it's going to not only create jobs, but it's going to save jobs. Next slide, please. What I call the fantastic part of this project that we're doing, everybody wants financial return on their investment. This is going to be an opportunity where there's going to be social return on the investment. Next slide, please. The name of our project, it's got 2 components. The name of our project is Yampa Valley Adventure Center, outdoor industry focused retail mall redevelopment. And the other aspect of it is the Colorado Great Outdoors Experience Museum and Hall of Fame, which will be a 501c3 nonprofit. Based on our project, we have the advantage of being in an opportunity zone, and the city of Craig, Colorado, based on our project, has created the Craig Urban Renewal Authority. So this project has many advantages of the opportunity zone and the advantages of an urban renewal development area. Next slide, please. Okay. We have the Centennial Mall under contract now. It's 125,000 square foot mall with exterior and interior space. It's about 35% occupied. It's been that way for 5 or 6 years. The Safeway store, it's up on the upper left-hand corner, has been vacant for over 5 years. Next slide, please. Okay. What we're doing is we're creating a world-class unique situation. As everybody is aware, retail malls have been going through an evolution, and this is on the cutting edge of the evolution of retail malls. It's going to be outdoor centric, of outdoor businesses. Examples are, and these aren't people that we have signed up or anything, but it'll give you a good visual. We'll be looking for Sportsman's Warehouse type business, REI type business. It's got an indoor gun and archery range. Like I said, REI type business. Also, we'll have, pardon me, I'm a little dry. We're going to have let me just read my little thing here. Okay. We are going to be your base camp for living, experiencing, and enjoying an active lifestyle 365 days a year in a 125,000 square foot indoor adventure center. Plus, we are going to be your gateway to exploring over 3.5 million acres of awe-inspiring public lands. From an indoor gun and archery range and pro shop to the indoor climbing center, tag interactive arena, outdoor tours featuring Sandwash Basin wild mustangs, sky trails, tyke trails, mini bowling, mini golf, top golf, swing suites, pool hall, interactive trampoline park, rental center where you can rent everything needed for an outdoor adventure. It's also going to have, which I had mentioned, retail outdoor centric. It'll also feature the Black Rock Steakhouse and Grill and Timbers Sawmill Grill and Axe Throwing Bar. The other part of the project, the Colorado Great Outdoors Museum and Experience, is going to, could you go back? Is going to occupy the center section and be a world-class museum and Hall of Fame, focused totally on the environment and focused totally on the outdoor adventures available in all of Colorado. We're working with a company called Dimensional Innovations. They are experts at creating exciting, dynamic displays. Next slide, please. Okay. Like I said, this is a community-based project. It's got over $12 million retail, entertainment, and food and beverage possibilities. We just got back our report this last Friday. We engaged a company called Better City to do a feasibility and implementation roadmap. So I don't have a lot of the investment figures that others have, but I can tell you the report will be available to any potential investors, anybody having any questions. But we have the support of the county, we have the support of the city. We've been reaching out to each and every one of the outdoor entities that are state, federal involved to get them behind this. The mall project is going to be approximately $5 million. The museum and Hall of Fame is going to be approximately $4.5 million. The $5 million, we're looking for investors. For that, the $4.5 million, we're going to go right to all of the entities who, I don't know how to say it without sounding political, but this is nice. We're all environmentalists. We all want a clean and great Colorado, but we're going to all of the entities that have put us in the position to have to transfer away from coal, and we're going to be asking them, hi, can you please support our community? These exhibits will feature each and every, birds of Colorado, wildlife, forests, every gamut of it, and we're going to be reaching out to the environmental groups and outdoor recreation manufacturers saying, please help us have a world-class museum and Hall of Fame that's going to be a national, regional, and tourism draw. Next slide, please.
Frank, if you can wrap here, we'll save some time for judges.
Yep. Go ahead. I'm done.
All right. What do you got, judges?
Well, I have several different areas, but I'm glad that you've gotten Better Cities engaged and they've got a feasibility study done for you, because I was wondering about some of the, obviously this is a tourism play, I guess. Nod your head, tourism play. So I guess what's the monetization strategy, or how do the investors get a return?
Okay, that one. Seriously, we just got the report. I've been involved through and with the report. We just got it last Friday. So as far as the monetization, I can answer that in, by next week, we'll have the fact sheet of here's, the rate of return, and that. When you said it's a tourism play, the interesting thing, for those that don't know about Better City, they also own a company called C-Source. It's Google Analytic. So they analyzed Routt County, Moffat County, and Rio Blanco County and looked at where everybody went, what they purchased, how long they were here, how long they stayed, where did they come from, how much did they spend on each and every activity. And we've got the facts and figures that show that this project will be financially successful, especially with tax increment financing that we're working on the city of Craig with from the Urban Renewal Authority. So go ahead, next question.
Got time for one more here.
Please all be disappointed if there's not another question.
Like Ryan's ready to tee one up here.
Okay.
No, I'm good. Thanks for the presentation. Very interesting.
Frank, you ran a bit long, so I think we're going to have to wrap it here. But feel free to put your email into the chat, and others can follow up as they want. Last but not least, we've got Marcy Moore-Gantz with the Susu House. Give me one moment here.